Hey guys, it's Justine here from I Should Read That, and today I am bringing you the start of my vlog for the 5th season by N.K. Jemisin. So I said the other day that I was going to be starting this book. I have never read this book before, this series. I've never read anything by her before, actually. And a lot of people seemed really excited on Twitter. So I decided to put up a poll to see if people wanted to see me vlog this book or review this book or both. And people said both. So I'm going to be doing my very first sort of vlog centered on a book. I don't know how long this is gonna take, but yeah, I'm really excited for this. If you are unaware, the 5th season is a super highly acclaimed fantasy book. It's the start of a trilogy, the Broken Earth trilogy, and N.K. Jemisin became the very first person to win the Hugo Award for Best Novel 3 years in a row, and those 3 awards were for every book in this trilogy, so it's obviously much beloved. It's super hyped for me, and I'm curious, I'm really curious. I know it's quite dark. I actually started this on audiobook ages ago and I couldn't get into the audiobook. I think it's just one of those books that's better read rather than listened to. I think that's the case just with some books, and actually the opposite is true for others. So this was obviously one I just need to pick up my copy and read it. It's been sat on my shelf literally for years. I think I bought this in 2016. It's currently 2020. So I have started this, which is great. I am 90 pages in, and 90 pages is obviously a lot. It's a fair bit. I think there's 460 something pages in this book, and I feel like I still don't know, not what's going on, but I feel like I don't know this book quite yet. It starts with a prologue that I will probably revisit after I finish the book, or maybe even when I finish the series, because it went way over my head, a lot of the stuff that was happening. She just kind of like, she chucks you in, and you sort of see all these things kind of flash past. You learn a little bit about the world and about sort of these seasons, these sort of periods of great destruction with earthquakes and volcanoes and stuff. And then you learn a little bit about like kind of the capital city, and it all flashes by really quickly. And I read the prologue and was like, I have no idea what's going on. But the rest of it is super accessible so far. So as far as I can tell, we have 3 points of view. The first actually being the one that I've heard the most about for this book. It's in the second person, so it's you. And you are a mother who has just discovered the body of her young child because her husband, the child's father, has beaten the child to death because they learned that they have this power to control sort of the earth and sort of manipulate the earth in earthquakes and things like that, which gets explained a little bit more. And so it's obviously like, it's a real rough start and it kind of lets you know right away that it's going to be a bit of a dark book. And I think that was what was going on with the audiobook. I just couldn't. Obviously, I could connect with this character who's going through this horrible thing, but I think it has so much more resonance if you read it. So that was about as far as I got the first time I tried, and I'm obviously much further now. And we have 2 other perspectives. One is a young girl who has this power. It's called, she's an origin, I think that's how you say it. I'm not entirely sure. I'm probably saying it wrong, so apologies if this is just grating on people's ears. But she's an origin, so she's one of these people who can manipulate the earth. And basically she's been living in her family's barn. Her family has basically called, essentially the constable, who has called someone called a guardian to come and get her. She thinks she's being sold to this sort of child buyer, but it turns out he's a guardian. He is going to take her to the place where all the others are trained, and this is kind of an eye-opening experience for her because she realizes that her power isn't all bad because these people are very shunned in this world. And then you have a character, I just got to her, I can't remember her name, it starts with an S. Cyan, and she is a origin as well. She has been trained. She's at kind of a middle to high level within the kind of hierarchy, and she's basically been told she's going to have to sire a child with this other origin who's very, very powerful, very, very top of the kind of hierarchy. And that's pretty much what I've gotten to so far. I feel like I'm sure these will all connect at some point. They don't at the moment. And I'm sure that I'll kind of get a little bit more into it. Not that I'm not into it now, it's just I feel like it's one of those books that's really easy to fall into, but I haven't completely fallen in love with it yet. But I am really enjoying it. I really like her writing style, which I feel is very unusual for fantasy, especially kind of a more epic fantasy. It's very, I'm sure there's a word for it. It feels like she, the narrator, is speaking to you, and I really enjoy that. So I'm looking forward to kind of seeing what this is all about. I'm looking forward to it. It's gonna be, how many times am I gonna say that? It's gonna be great. I think that I might take it a little bit slowly because I suspect that maybe it'll get a little bit darker from here. We'll see. And yeah, I don't know. Not too many opinions yet, but I'll check in later. It is Wednesday the 5th of February, I'm 90% sure, and I have made some progress in the 5th season, which I almost just hit myself in the face with. I am, oh god, what page am I on? I think I'm on page, I forgot to get a bookmark. I think I'm on page like 150? Yeah, I'm on page 150. I'm at the first interlude. There are interludes, and I'm definitely getting more into this. I think last time I had said that I was, what, like 90-ish pages in? I think it was less than 100 pages in, and I was saying that I was liking it, but I wasn't quite fully into it yet. I'm fully into it now. I'm also really tired. Yeah, it's dark. As I said, I think in the first one, it opens with you, like a mother coming upon her dead child's body, and her child has been beaten to death by said child's father, your husband. And it's not the only dead child in this book, so if that's something you don't want to read, I would not recommend this necessarily, or at least go in knowing that that is going to be a thing, because it is definitely a thing. But it's really good so far. We've had a few more chapters for each perspective of the 3, or at least the 3 we have so far. At this point, I'm 150 pages in. I'm not expecting any new perspectives, but I could be surprised. I don't know. But yeah, no, I'm really enjoying it. It's dark. It's starting to get really dark, and we're starting to kind of see more. I don't want to give anything away. That's the hard thing about doing a vlog about a specific book. We're starting to see more of the world and how it treats these origins, and how they're kind of controlled, because their power is incredible. We've learned a little bit more about their power, and you see this in the early ones, but it's been explained. So we learn that this like ring of frost that forms around them when they're using their powers, because they're pulling heat and warmth and energy out of every living thing around them, and using that power. And there are different sort of levels of power. So you have Cyanite, who has, she's a 6 ringer, so she's got 6 rings out of 10. And Alabaster, who is the man that she's kind of been paired up with, is a 10 ringer. So she sees him use his power, and it's really quite frightening. It's really incredible. As someone, this is kind of an aside, but as someone who grew up in Los Angeles near a fault line and learned to do things like earthquake drills and stuff as a kid. I find earthquakes quite frightening when they're big. When they're small, they're fine, they're fun. But when they're big and they're destructive, they are quite frightening. So I feel like I'm getting a little bit of extra anxiety from the magic, and it's making me really suspicious and worried, but maybe that's just like my earthquake experience. I don't really know. But I am going to take a very short break from this because it is getting quite dark. I'm having some, just some reading mojo problems, I think. I think part of it is, if you've seen my February TBR, which just went up a few days ago, you may have seen that I have a buttload of books to read. So many fucking books to read, and I think it's starting to freak me out a little bit. I picked this up as a break from review copies, and it took me a really long time to break my brain of screaming at myself and being like, but that was published in 2016, you can't read that now, you have to read a review copy for something that's being published this year. I'm having some trouble. So I haven't done one of these like just for a specific book vlogs before, but I did get a couple of new books in, which I think I might also read because they're quite short. So if the 5th season gets a little bit troublesome, I might break it up a little bit. Come Tumbling Down by Shauna Maguire, published on the 1st of February in the UK, so my copy showed up. Super pumped for this one. She's just announced the title for the 6th one. And then actually someone got me a copy of Thin Air by Michelle Paver off of my wish list, which was awesome, really awesome. I was having kind of a crappy day when it showed up, and it just like, it totally made my day. So Lauren, thank you so much for sending me this. If you saw my January wrap up, you may have seen that I adored Dark Matter, which is also by this author, so I'm very pumped for this. So again, if the 5th season gets a little bit too heavy, which I did have to take a little bit of a break. If you've read the 5th season, we got to the Node Station. So I had to take a little bit of a break after that because just kind of like reading mojo's been funny, and like it was a lot to kind of process. So I'm gonna get back to it. I took a little bit of a break from reading yesterday, but I did get these 2 books in the post, and I think that it might really help with keeping my brain in a happy place while I read the 5th season. So I am really enjoying it. I think I'm going to bring it on the bus tomorrow because I usually don't go into work on Thursdays, but I stayed home today, and I'm going to work tomorrow in the office, and I'm going to bring this on the bus because I have about a 2-hour commute. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead, get back to this. I'm in currently my teddy bear rope, knocking shit over. I'm comfy, I'm doing alright. I've been recovering from being sick, and I've just had some kind of stuff going on. So yeah, I'm gonna curl up on the sofa, watch Scottish Husband play Roller Coaster Tycoon, and read my book. Okay, so it's Saturday. I think last time I updated was Wednesday? Maybe? I think it was Wednesday. And I hadn't done a whole lot of reading until yesterday, actually. I went from about 150 pages to about 250 pages, and today I'm on page 354, so I'm getting really close. There's like appendices and stuff in here. So I am getting super close to the end of the book, and I'm actually planning on finishing this tonight or tomorrow. It's funny, so like, it's really kicked into gear in a lot of ways, and in a lot of other ways it hasn't. It's continuing to be this kind of much more slow-paced narrative. However, we have had some revelations. Some things have happened that are beginning to tie the stories together, and I feel like I still don't have a lot of answers. And I suspect that this might be one of those books in which almost like the whole series, the whole trilogy can be viewed not necessarily as a trilogy of 3 separate books, but kind of 3 separate parts of the same book, if that makes any sense. Some books really feel like they're one big, or some series I should say, feel like they're really one big long book, and they just had to split them up for like publication's sake, and I think that this might be one of those. So yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I occasionally have had some trouble in Cyanite's parts if I put the book down. I have a little bit of trouble getting back into it, and occasionally I have that with oh my gosh, the U character's name, is it Inu? Something like that. I sometimes have a little bit of trouble picking it back up again, so I kind of have to make myself really focus and concentrate, and then I fall back into the story. That's not a bad thing at all, it's just kind of an observation. So I've had a lot of time to read this over the past couple of days. Yesterday I worked from home, so I got to read it before work, during lunch, and then after work. And today I spent quite a lot of time getting my hair done in a salon, so I got to spend a fair few hours reading this today. So I'm really pleased with my progress. I'm definitely going to finish this weekend. I'm really happy I picked this book up. At the moment, I'm not sure, obviously, how it's going to end. I have 100 pages to go, and I have a feeling that this is going to be the kind of book that really punches you in the face at the end. But I'm thinking this will probably be a 4-star read for me. We'll have to see. That's obviously not final. I will tell you what I think at the very end. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it, and I'm enjoying it as much as I thought I would. However, in some ways, I don't know, in some ways it doesn't feel like it's quite hit the hype levels yet, but that could just be my own sense of the hype. It could just be my own personal opinion, and it could be that something huge happens at the end. So I don't know, we'll see. I'm gonna go sit on the sofa and read the rest of this book now. So I finished, and I think that if you've read this, you probably understand. Oh my god. So it's quite the intense ending. I'd say if you're maybe struggling a little bit, if you're enjoying it but struggling a little bit in terms of like feeling like not a lot is happening and stuff, I would very much suggest continuing on to the end, and that's coming from someone who is big on DNFing books. I feel like I've been punched in the face. Like, in a good way though. It was a lot to take on. I feel like I'm gonna need a little bit of time to process this book, but kind of my immediate feelings are that it was really good. It was fantastic. There was one thing that I predicted would happen, or like would be kind of the case, which wasn't, you know, didn't like ruin the book for me or anything like that, but it did make things make a little bit more sense to me early on, which is good. I don't think I've ever read anything quite like this. I have a feeling that this is gonna go in the camp of like Children of Time, where I've never read anything quite comparable to this. And I think that part of my sort of, not hesitation with it, but kind of my initial sort of, not struggles, but I mean, it's a slow burn book anyway, and I think that part of my sort of slow reading of it, I guess would be the phrase that I would use. I think the fact that I've never read anything like this, therefore I didn't really know what to expect. You kind of, even with something like fantasy, where it's not necessarily a formula like something like, say, romance, you don't necessarily know exactly what you're gonna get, and kind of the gaps are filled in within that formula, which is one of the reasons that I really enjoy romance. Fantasy, I feel like you still have an expectation of what you're gonna get, especially when you go into something you're like, okay, it is post-apocalyptic, or apocalyptic because we're in the middle of the world ending, and it's set in a fantasy world. I feel like you have kind of expectations for what that will be, and this subverted them in such an amazing way for me. I will always love something that takes my expectations and flips them on their head. That's one of the reasons that I love, say, Joe Abercrombie's books so much. That's why I love Children of Time so much. Stuff like that. So I feel like I'm just kind of rambling at this point because I need some time to process this book, and it's going to take a little while, I think. So I think what I'm going to do is wrap up this vlog here and talk about this more in my February wrap-up, because it's the 8th of February today. I'll have lots of time to process my thoughts and feelings on this book. I know I had said it'll probably be like a 4-star read for me. I think because of the way it all wrapped up and how incredibly clever it was, it's definitely something that I would go back and reread in a heartbeat. I think that it would probably be closer to a 4.5 or 5-star read for me, even though I did have some struggles with kind of pacing and stuff like that. Yeah, I'm gonna go stare at a wall for a while and think about my feelings. That is it for this reading vlog. This is my very first kind of single book reading vlog. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you want to see more videos like this, definitely let me know. In the comments below, I would love to know if you've read the 5th season. Definitely let me know what you think of it, if it's in your TBR, if it's one of those books like, for me, you've been kind of saving for a rainy day for years and years and years. I would love to hear from you. I post bookish content to this channel fairly frequently, so go ahead and hit subscribe, check back soon, and I will see you next time.